The market is tough in Florida. Can we just admit that? Is everybody ready to admit that the market is tough? If you're a seller, you could really be experiencing some agita, and I totally get it. There are some areas in Florida that are continuing to sell well. I'm just going to give you an example, and I've said this in my videos before. Naples, Florida is one of them. So as a whole, if you look at Collier County as a whole, it's only seen about a 1% price reduction in terms of sale reduction. So not a lot. Because when you look at the amount of property that's on the market, you would think, wow, I can't even believe that. I couldn't either, but that is what the actual stats are. And in Naples in particular, I think that the reason for that is that the median phenomena is what's doing that. If you remove the high and the low, then there's enough good to sort of balance out what's really bad. Now, I'm not saying there aren't good buys in Naples, Florida, because there are, and there are also some significant price drops. You just have to weed them out, and they're all over the place. Same thing in Sarasota. We see that all the time in Sarasota, that prices are, it's kind of balancing itself. Now, Sarasota has seen much more of a sale price reduction than Naples has, but still yet, it might not be as much as what you think. And if you took condos out, you would really be surprised. But that said, if you have property that you want to sell in Florida, then you have to think through of it. If you need to sell, you need to sell. So you need your agent to help you with some things other than just drop the price. And sometimes, unfortunately, I know people don't want to hear this, but unfortunately, sometimes you do have to just drop the price. When would that be, you may ask? If you have a condo, especially an older condo that's within 3 miles of the Gulf or the Atlantic, you might be in a position that the only thing that's going to work for you is to get the price down. If you're in a condo community where the fees have gone through the roof and the amenities are just kind of like so-so, then you may have to get the price down really, really low. So sometimes there isn't a lot we can do to kind of differentiate your unit from another, because if you think about it, a condo is just like box over box over box over box, and there's only so much you can do. Yes, you can change your decor, but there's still only so much you can do. So who I'm talking to today are folks that live anywhere in Florida, because the entirety of Florida is having a challenging market, and you need to sell, or you're getting ready to sell, and you're kind of afraid of putting your home on the market because you don't want to rack up days on market and not sell. So we're going to talk about some things you can do that will increase your likelihood of selling. All right, number one, first of all, curb appeal. If you have a single family home, curb appeal makes a big difference. People will say to me all the time, well, nobody is going to care if my front door is scratched up because they're going to paint it anyway. So that front door with the scratches all over it, that front entryway with little bushes and flowers that are dying and they look super thirsty, that gives the impression of what I'm going to walk into is not maintained. If you don't care enough to make that first impression good, it sets the stage for somebody to start thinking that your home is not going to be well maintained. So make sure that that walk-up is inviting. Yes, it is worth it to pay your landscaper or do it yourself to get all those weeds out, to make everything look nicely manicured, to plant some new flowers. I have even seen people that have sparsely sort of flowers that are sparsely integrated and they look a little bit like, they can look a lot better. I've seen people pop in plastic flowers, and unless you're looking for it, you don't really notice it. So some people have really taken it to the next level. But if you don't have anywhere, if you're like, well, Well, what do you mean, Barrett? I live in a condo and I can't plant flowers in front of my condo door. No, but you can put a beautiful potted plant there. You can do that. You might say to me, nope, I can't do that. They're going to say it's a fire hazard and I can't do it. You can put a beautiful wreath that says welcome on the front door. It just makes people feel like that first impression. They automatically smile and they think, okay, what do we got here before they open the door? Generally speaking, a home that has furniture, especially nice furniture, is going to sell faster, better, and for more money. So if you have that old furniture, like this is the rule that I always say, if you don't want it, they don't want it. Do not think that if you leave a wicker chair, do not think that if you leave 2 wicker chairs that are all scratched up and beat up in your family room, a table that has mismatched chairs in your dining room, and 1 double bed with no other furniture in the master bedroom, do not think that you can go out and call that furnished. That is just wrong on every level, and you know this. If you don't want it, they don't want it. You know what you're doing? You're putting somebody in a position where they have to get rid of your garbage in order to start renovating or bringing their things in. Do not do that. Don't trick yourself to think that, yes, you know that it's going to cost you $10,000 to move your furniture back to Canada, but don't pick and choose all the best things and leave all the trash for somebody else and think that that's helpful.
Well, I'm leaving it furnished.
Well, thank you very much. We don't want your triple used furniture at all. So get rid of it. Get rid of it. You can just wipe the slate clean. Don't leave it for somebody else to deal with. And on that note, if the house is empty, you need to have an agent that is going to virtually stage your home. What do I mean by that? Now, there is a difference. There are some agents that don't know where to go to get virtual staging. Have you ever gone on the website that rhymes with pillow and you're like, what the heck is that? Why does that look like a cartoon? Why is that couch super teeny tiny in that giant room? Because somebody took a course on Photoshop and they learned to put a couch in the middle of an empty family room. Don't allow your agent to do that to you because it is not helpful. But good professional virtual staging looks really nice. Why? Because it helps people understand that here's how you can rearrange the furniture. That here is how you can arrange the furniture in this room. There are many people out there that don't have that eye, that if you show them this gigantic rectangular room, they can't get a vision for what that should look like. That's why when things are furnished, especially if they're furnished nicely, it helps a home sell maybe over something that's vacant. But what I like to do, so let's say you have a big rectangular room. If you drop in a beautiful coastal, maybe an L-shaped sectional, a beautiful entertainment center, everything fits in the theme together because somebody is staging it professionally. I can't tell you how many times I've had buyers say, can I keep those pictures because that's exactly how I want to set this room up. The other thing I do is I'll take the picture empty, put that in the MLS, and then the staged, virtually staged picture goes in right next to it. And on that note, if you are on the website that rhymes with pillow and your pictures are dark and vertical, not horizontal, vertical, your agent probably took pictures with an iPhone 7 and don't let anybody do that. You know, if you're going to have a leg up to sell in this market, you have to have good, clean, bright, professional photography. So you listed your $3 million home with Earl in Naples because he is the agent that you met at the country club. He's clearly successful. He drives a Benz, and you can tell that his Italian suits are very well tailored. But is he the best man for the job? Is he that aggressive go-getter who is connected enough but also tech savvy enough to get you pushed out into the community. Because I'm going to tell you, on what differentiates, in my opinion, from somebody who can sell something that's maybe in Port Royal, something that, if you're unfamiliar, that's going to be into the multi-million-dollar price point in Naples, or really any other area for that matter. If you hire an agent that is just kind of the go-to guy that smokes the best cigars, that does not mean that he's spending his time grinding and trying to find that buyer for your home. You need somebody who understands social media, because that is where you're going to find the buyer many, many times. Yes, there's something to be said for being connected to the area, for sure. But a lot of people, especially when you have people that want something that's very, very exclusive, they are going to look online. They're going to be on the internet. So you have to have somebody that has your best face forward. Now, let's say you have a home in Orlando and you have regular Joe house. 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home. They're a dime a dozen. Everybody has one right now, and you need to sell yours because you want to take a job elsewhere. And you're struggling. You've been on the market 150 days. No bites. Nothing. So you can offer incentives. You can offer things like closing costs. Think about it when you're thinking about your net number, but you're trying to kind of break out of the pack right now. So closing costs are very high in Florida. You can offer closing costs. You can offer a rate buy down. There are things that you can do creatively. Let's say you're in a condo with really high HOAs. You can offer to pay a year up front of the HOAs if you can afford to do it. There are things you can do to make yourself get picked up and dropped out of the pack so that people come through your property. And then the last one I would suggest, do the open houses, because here's the thing. Especially if you live in an area where a lot of the neighborhoods are gated, people can't get in those communities throughout the week. So it's important to have open houses so that people can come in and get to know your area. So it might be that they flew into town, and we have this all the time, where people will say, well, I flew into town to look around. I didn't want to engage a real estate agent because I didn't want to go to that degree yet, because I didn't know if I was going to like the area. And then they discover that they flew in Monday through Friday and they couldn't get behind the gates of any community to drive through and look at amenities and see if they liked anything. So if you do things to take yourself out of the pack, like you do an open house on a Wednesday, the next week you do an open house on a Sunday, you're going to get in front of different buyers, because the folks that didn't come in for the weekend, or maybe they flew into town, they have total intention of buying, maybe not this trip, but the next trip, and they flew in Monday through Sunday, but the entire weekend was taken up by a wedding. If you are the person that had an open house on a Wednesday, they're going to come through it. The other thing I suggest is shorter times on your open houses. I do this all the time, and people think, like, is she crazy? But you know what I might do? A half-hour open house. Maybe my open house is from 1 to 1:30. Everybody else is open from 1 to 3. Whose open house do you think they're going to go to first? Mine, because I'm only open for a half hour. So they're going to make it a point to get to my open house because my window is so short, and that works. So you just need to get creative. Make sure you're working with an agent who's getting creative to help you get your home sold. And then, of course, the last thing you can do is drop the price. We all know that. We're not even going to waste time talking about that. But if you have to, you always have that. But I'd like to always say, leave that for the very, very last if all these other things don't work. So I hope that was helpful for you. And if you have a home that you need to get on the market or a condo, reach out. I'd love to help.